I wanted to talk about part of my death experience um, when I came back. And it was like right before I got back. And I asked the question about, all the people that suffered and lived like these obscure lives. And I was assured that nobody lives an obscure life, that we are all loved thoroughly by our Father in heaven. And how the love that I felt was the same that was a love for anybody. Even those kids that are living on the streets in South America, you know, anybody in China, anybody in any part of the world, that we're all loved, cherished, and we're all His. And I've been thinking a lot about pride lately, and watching stuff in social media, or not social media, but the media about different trials, and then just observing my environment and people around in my life, and trying to figure that out. And I've also been reading in the Old Testament through the Kings, and seeing how pride or their desires or their perception, different things like that, played a role in a lot of their downfall, and how these lessons can be great for us to avoid those same type of pitfalls. And one would say, but I'm not a king. But in our life, in our world, we are a king, we are a queen. So how are we going to use those lessons to help us to not fall in similar pitfalls? It's one of the wonderful things about the scriptures, that we can actually learn from them. It's a guide around those different pitfalls that are in the human story. I was thinking in my environment about how people bounce off each other, how people conduct themselves, how that affects others, and then in a wider span to the world, and how that works. I have always had a feeling for not the underdog, but the masses, the people. I first started out my jobs in the food industry, in production. And I got to see what went into bringing a product to market, the actual production of the food into what it was going to become. And I saw that all these different steps happened, but all these people contributed to the bringing to pass this item. And that each step was very important. If you eliminated one of those steps, that product then wasn't what it should be. And so I took that and went to a bigger, put it on a bigger stage. And you see how each person, if they're engaged, can have a role in bringing things to pass in the world, definitely in their lives. And that no one really is unremarkable. And, one could say from the farming to the, what do I say, bringing it into the factory, the truckers, to the piping it in. I worked on a sorting table, and we went through the product and made sure there weren't any rocks or weird stuff in there. Then it went from there into being inserted into cans. Cans went through a big oven. Then the attic came out of an oven. Then we would drop bacon in it. And we were making baked beans. And then from there, it went on to these giant, huge cookers, steam cookers. And then from there, it went The cans were sorted because they were a jumbled mess. It went through a sorting machine, then it went to a labeling machine, then it was stacked, and then boxed it was boxed, stacked, and then taken to the warehouse. And each one of those steps is really important to make it all work. But what if you were to pull out the cookers? The product didn't get cooked. What if you didn't have the sorting machine? Well, those cans could never then be labeled. And so each one of us is integral parts to make this world work, just like in biology, just like in animals and ecosystems. Every single thing is put together to make the organism of our earth work and humanity to make humanity work. So how does that relate to pride? Pride in one's heart vaults themselves above. Their role is more important. And these roles were maybe not as important. And one would think, well, of course, that makes sense. But in the production line with my analogy, that doesn't work. If we look at that production line as a life, as one life, okay, it takes all those different factors in your life to create a quality product, which is the sum total of your life, okay? And if we skip a process, then we'll have a failure in what we're trying to achieve. And sometimes we're trying to achieve getting through the day. Sometimes we're trying to actualize our dreams. Sometimes we're trying to gain an education, promote a career, become a parent, become a good parent. It's all individually based as to what our goals are. People can't opt out. In fact, that's the adversary's desire, is to have us opt out. How is that done? Through drugs, through suicide, through self-injuring and self-defeating behavior. Quit. Only you can't quit. As somebody who has experienced some of those things, you can't quit. I would say at times, if I could just step off the planet for a while, I'd be okay. If I could just rest and sit down and rest from my life, I would be fine. But I never did find that, which leads me to vacations. We don't do vacations. Large part because we financially cannot do that, okay? But even if we had a windfall of money, and I've had a couple windfalls in my life, I never put it towards a vacation, ever. I put it towards beefing up my food storage. I put it towards paying bills. I put it towards upgrading or fixing cars. They all went to common sense things. They didn't go to a vacation. And that is my choice, our choice, because I wanted to make sure everything was dealt with, everything was covered, especially in case something went wrong. We just got some money. We stuck it away to repair my car. Could we have taken that money and done a little something with it? Sure could have. But the fact that my car's not running day after day and I'm trapped at home because I don't have a car, we have one car, my husband uses it for work. That means I'm stuck at home all the time. But that money, instead of being spent on a vacation, on some frivolous, stupid thing, is set aside to cover the repairs for that car. And I feel so good about that. I feel good about that. I think about the people who go to these vacations. Morocco. Thank you. That hard time without. Morocco. You go to Morocco and you've got all this money to spend. You stay at a top-notch hotel, or at least the better hotel. And then you go to this thing called a souk. which is a market. And you go to the market and you buy things and you buy things and you buy things. But while in the market, you pass slums. You pass people walking on the street, hot, tired, hungry. So you can get to the souk and spend all your money frivolously for stuff that you're going to have to haul home. Hope you don't make it through customs. And pay the expense to haul that stuff home. But meanwhile, you passed all those people in the street. That's where I get stuck. All the people in the street. Why can you ride through town as a king, spending your wealth on useless stuff when those people could be fed? Their answer is, oh, well, I pay tithing, or I give to charity, or whatever. You know, you write a check. But do you buy that person lunch? Do you ever see that person eat that food? Does that bottle of water ever go to that person? We know charity sometimes can be like in Somalia. You know, that stuff, even though it was sent in by governments, it barely ever made it to the people because it was taken. And it was looted and used in unscrupulous ways. Yeah, but I wrote a check. I did my part. Do I have the ability to go to these countries? I want to go to South America. Those kids living on the street kill me every day. Maybe it's the nanny in me. I don't know. But to know that there's kids living on the street, vulnerable to predators, hungry, lonely, scared, lives with me every day. I wish I could do something. But guess what? There are ways you can do something. There are organizations. There are people down there sacrificing their time and their lives to do stuff. You could write a check to them. You could send them money. Instead of paying a bunch of money to tour Europe, to go on vacations, that money could be spent to help humanity. I think we're going to be held accountable. Just because you pay tithing, yeah, you're obedient. But that's the least that we're asked to do, the least. Did God ask for 100%? No. Did he ask for 50%? 30? 10. You give me $100, I give God 10. What do you do with that other 90? Are you living in a way that takes the whole 90 to upkeep your lifestyle and include those vacations? Oh, it's easy for me to say this because I'm poor. I do what I can. I give what I can. I give the shirt off my back. I have. Because my heart is with it. Because I know that life is just as valuable as my life. I know that's my brother, my little brother and sister on those streets. Weak, scared, vulnerable. It's my job to look out for them in any way I can, from here, smack dab in the middle of the United States, poor. But it doesn't take that responsibility away from me at all. Pride knocks on my door. It has my whole life. And I have fought it. But more than that, I've been humbled my whole life. Humbled. Which tells me that my spirit must have been a very strong one. And with that strength, I can be prideful, but I keep getting humbled over and over and over again. Not because I did something wrong, not because I'm intrinsically bad or evil or wicked. It's because God wants to keep me on the right path. And it's so funny as I've gone through my life, if I just get a little bit uppity, bam, instantly humbled, which says I'm getting better and better and better. Grew up, my dad would somehow, and I maybe every 3 months, I had to be taken down off my high horse. Like, where the hell is this horse? But pretty much every 3 months, I needed an attitude adjustment. I needed to be taken down off my high horse. I didn't like it then, but I appreciate it now. Because one can, I was not going to touch my hair. Because one can get too big in one's own eyes. And when you're too big in your own eyes, you can't see anything beyond that. And that's the opposite of what we're supposed to do. So, I try to keep myself out of my own eyes. But yet I want to see what I am. Prior to my death experience, I had no self-esteem whatsoever. I had my strength, but there was such a self-hate, that suicide was definitely on the table. I mean, I had to be destroyed. But yet I felt like I had to keep going. You know, that if I did finally, the devil would be successful. And he almost was. But there was so much self-hate. Hate. In my death experience before I came back, he poured all this love into me. I mean, it's beyond human words, but it was like drinking from the biggest fire hose of love, and there was no end to it, and it was very personal. And it was for I was completely 1,000,000,000% loved and accepted. There wasn't one part of me that wasn't seen and wasn't loved. And it just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. Through that experience, I was able to learn my worth. I found my value because God showed me his value in me. And I didn't know that right when I woke up. And it has been something that has evolved, and still come. And things will pop up and it's like, wow, I was a good person. I was valuable. I had worth. You know, thinking about some of the things that I did. And, I don't want to really go into it, but, you know, helped a friend get off drugs. And they were successful and still successful and living a good life. I was a person that changed that. I never would have admitted it before. And I'm not saying I'm a great person because of it, but I was able to be utilized to do that. That means I was a good person. I would never have accepted that fact before. Ever. It wasn't me. I happened to be the right place at the right time, blah, blah, blah. But now I can accept that I was one of those steps in the production line that allowed that product to come to market, for that person to actualize a better life. And that makes me feel good about myself, because that cup needs attention. And if I can throw that in there, that makes it better for me. It makes me healthier in my mind and my heart. That's why we have to be involved with each other. We can't spend the time thinking about keeping ourselves above others, for being lost in our own story, in our own heads, that we don't see around us. Engage, get involved. It's messy. It is messy. Humans are messy. But the reward is just as messy wonderful. Pain is the great sin. Oh, that's a Freudian slip, right? Because I live in pain. Pride is the great sin. It was Satan's sin. That would be kind of like a no-brainer, right? Like, well, don't do that. But when we strip down and look at our lives and do these inventories, and we see, oh, we're doing this, 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 and this. Well, why are we doing this? What's the purpose? What's it going to yield? What's it going to bring? It's going to keep us up. It's going to keep us up. When you come to people like this, you can communicate and enjoy each other. When you come with this with pride, you're not communicating. I know a doctor who has healed so many people, and he's an ER doc. So that, I mean, he's healing people on the daily, but he heals other people. He's an osteopath, and he heals people from long-term problems, like with their body and stuff, and it's life-changing what he does. But when you come to him and you meet him personally or professionally, because I've been in his ER before, he doesn't come at you like this because of his ability to heal, because of his status as a doctor, or the fact that he's so wickedly intelligent and many other things. He comes at you like this. He humbles himself. He's not beneath you, but he pulls himself under just a little bit. And I believe the reason that he does that is so that he can hear you. So he can truly hear what you're having to say with your mouth and other ways. If he's up here, he ain't gonna hear you. But with him here, he will hear you. With him here a little bit more, he can hear you even better. So how do we approach the world? How do I want to approach the world? I want to approach the world here. I used to approach the world like there. I can't even see my hand anymore. I'm doing good that I'm up to here now. And often I'm kind of here, comfortably here. But I want to hear. I want to commune with humanity. I want to be part of humanity. I've been doing a lot of, I have the time to do introspective work and to learn these different things about me. And I am learning, and I am spending time. It's not vain. It's not prideful. It's me going through and picking through everything. And there's a lot with me. There's a lot there. And adding God to it and understanding it and coming to conclusions and then boxing it up, putting it away. Or how can I use this to help me to live a better life, a more loving life, a life for God? I guess it's back to the onions, all being part of one. And I guess that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. My last videos were pretty intense. It was an intense time. I'm bounced back. I'm feeling good. I appreciate that. Learned so much through that whole upheaval in time. I think relationships are healing. Again, my dad is a hero. The work that he has been able to do and yet maintain a relationship with me just melts my heart. And in the same way, me wanting a relationship with him, that goes to tell you that if we meet each other here, the opportunity for good things is immeasurable. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for my humble life, because to me it's not humble. It's a glorious life, and I don't care what my house looks like, because my house is golden. And I'm thankful that God has blessed me with that. Love you. Take care.